in South Dakota. Family moved around a lot. I actually went to 10 different schools my first 9 years of schooling. When I came out of high school, ROTC was mandatory. You had no option. In fact, when I got to college, heard that ROTC was mandatory, I thought that was communism, that they could not force me to wear that silly uniform and march every Wednesday and do all those things. But they could, and they did. And it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
Patrick Brady volunteered for Vietnam right out of flight school in January of 1964. His work there was exclusively helicopter ambulance evacuation, known in the battlefield as dust-off.
The missions that we flew were the most dangerous kind of flying because we were required to land on the battlefield, but also very effective. You had a better chance of survival if you were wounded in the jungles of Vietnam than if you were in a car crash, simply because of that dedicated resource and well-trained crew to fly those missions.
Brady quickly earned a reputation as one of the most skilled evac pilots in Vietnam. His gutsy, innovative flying techniques enabled him to maneuver through conditions that turned most pilots back. It was for this reason that Brady was called upon one foggy day in 1968 to make a series of impossible rescues where others before him had failed.
I flew 4 separate sets of missions that day. We went through 3 helicopters. There had been, they told me, 7 attempts to get the people out, and they were unsuccessful. And I wasn't even on duty that day. But they knew I could fly these missions, the guys in my unit. And so they called me to pick up some patients from an outpost that was under attack, deep in the stuff.
This is Rebel 6, request dust-off, over.
So I went into that outpost and picked up those patients. It was not a problem. Second mission, second series of missions, same thing. They had 60 or 70 patients caught in a valley under that stuff. And they had several aircraft shot down, and there had been numerous attempts to get in there.
Dust-off, over.
They weren't going to let me go in initially. I had to land on the fire support base and talk to the brigade commander into letting me go in. He actually went to my co-pilot and said to my co-pilot, "Can he do that?" My co-pilot said, "We've been doing it. We just did it this morning." So we go into there. We flew right over the top of the enemy. But by the time he saw us, I could see him laying in the mud under us. He can't do anything, because by the time he hears the helicopter and finds where in the heck is it, and then if he sees me, you know, he can't see 30, 40 feet, and we're gone. So I ended up having to go back in there 4 times to get all the patients. We got them all out. And when they saw us break up out of that fog, everybody on the fire support base broke out clapping. That was half the day. The next mission was some American casualties in an area in a firefight. We went in, and we may have come in the wrong way. We may have got some bad information from the people on the ground, because as we got close to the ground, the friendly wouldn't stand up to help us load the patients, and the enemy cut loose on us. And so we took a bunch of rounds. One of the rounds came up through the floor. They told me later that it went through the controls, but we seemed to be flyable. And so I went around, and then I came in a better way, and they were ready to stand up and help us load the patients, and we got them out. So the aircraft was damaged, and I had to get another airplane when I got back. Now in the meantime, we're flying missions, other missions, in between here. There's all kinds of activity in the countryside. So we head down south, and on the way back, I'm monitoring the traffic on the radio, and I hear about some soldiers who are trapped in a minefield. And as I fly by, I see a dust-off bird from down south sitting on the ground there. And apparently, he was sitting there, and a mine went off and killed some people, and he left the area. They started screaming, "We need help, we need help, dust-off, please come." And I saw where he was sitting. And I knew that where he was sitting was reasonably safe, that I could land there without setting off a mine. And so that's what I did. And we got on the ground in good shape. So then the problem is getting the patients out of the minefield because nobody will move. The Americans on the ground are frozen in position, won't move. So I turned to my crew, a medic and a crew chief, and I said, go get them. Now these were the great heroes in that mission. They jumped out of that bird, ran through the minefield, and started carrying the patients back to my aircraft. On the last trip, as they got near to the aircraft, they set off a mine. Well, it blew both of my crew chief up in the air. And I'm looking out the back window as they're loading, and I see them go up in the air, boom, and then the shrapnel hits the side of the aircraft. All my lights start flashing, and so I don't know if I'm flyable again. But neither one of my guys were seriously hurt. They managed to get on the aircraft, and it was flyable. I was able to get it off the ground, and that was the end of it. As far as fear goes, never experienced it. For me, it was a matter of my faith. My faith was a substitute for fear. And I just knew that if I died doing what I was doing, what better way to die? I mean, what better way for a soldier to die than to be saving the lives of his fellow soldiers? The message that I try to bring to the young people is simply this. We're not born equal. There's no question about that. In terms of ability, in terms of opportunity, we're just not all born equal. Some guys are smarter, some guys are faster, some guys are better looking, and so on. But there is one way in which we are all equal. Only one way, and that's in matters of courage. All of us can have all the courage we want, and that's the key to success in life. That's important, that our children look at that and say, courage is a good thing. Sacrifice is a good thing. The sacrifice of a soldier is a particularly good thing because there's no bottom line to it. Now, people will sacrifice in society, but usually there's a bottom line. They're going to make something out of it. Not a soldier. All it does for a soldier is increase his capacity for more sacrifice and also for more responsibility. So that kind of sacrifice is very, very important, and people who have the medal should be able to stand for that kind of a sacrifice.